In this episode, we're talking about trauma triggers through the lens of real life and not just theory. Now, we're going to be sharing Kat's recent experience of being triggered and unpacking what has actually happened underneath it all, reflecting on how both of our awareness has actually changed over the past 5 years. And we're going to be speaking honestly about the workarounds and practices that actually help us move through these moments with more understanding, compassion, and care. If you're actively seeking ways to build your mental toughness, navigate life transitions with grace, or simply find inspiration to keep moving forward, then you're in the right place. Welcome to the Art of Beautiful Thinking podcast.
Welcome to the Art of Beautiful Thinking. I'm Kat. This is Vet. And today we're going to have it's a more personal episode, I suppose, today. We're going to talk about a recent meltdown that I had because all of my fears and traumas were triggered all in one big go. All of the things that scare the life out of me all happened all at once. So for me, it was a very difficult time. And thank goodness Eva was able to sort of assist me. And thank goodness that I've done so much personal growth over this period of time that my trauma triggers no longer own me for a really long period. They do temporarily, but I can get back to that place of emotional regulation much more quickly than I used to be able to do.
Yeah, I think that's the part that shows the real growth is because if I go back to both of our past, and a
Yeah,
few of our audience who have been listening to us regularly know this, we've come from domestic violent upbringing. That in itself has trauma.
yeah,
And one of the things around that for me, and I know that we've discussed this between the two of us, is that
yeah.
security plays a major, major role for
Oh,
us. Like when we feel
huge.
secure, we feel calm and centered and that everything is right. And when we don't feel secure, and we're talking about security in life and feeling safe in life and things like that,
Yeah,
it triggers us. And it can
yeah,
be triggered through small things and things like being constantly bullied at work. So I know
yeah,
for me, like I have a high tolerance for being picked on and things like that because of my upbringing. But at the same time, once I hit that tolerance has it goes past my tolerance point, I
yeah,
start having things like anxiety attacks and all of those
yeah.
types of things, and I start to feel really, really unsafe. And the other side of it too for me is finances. If my finances are a bit skew with, or I'm feeling a little bit uncertain about my financial future, that can also trigger um, s- uh, safety, security issues with me as well. And
Massively.
yeah, and a lot of that has come back from that childhood trauma
Yeah,
of as a kid, all you want is security and safety, and you're not getting that from your home,
no,
which is the
no,
place where you should be getting it from. You
yeah,
should feel safe with your parents. You should feel safe when you come home from school.
yeah,
Home is meant to be your sanctuary. And when you don't have that sense of security and safety, it's not there. And as a
mm,
child, you don't kind of look at it going, I'm looking for safety and security, because
no,
it should just be a given. And
yeah,
then that's what creates the trauma response with inside of you when you've come from a DV environment. And I know for me, and it's similar, we've both come from that environment and we both have the same trigger of when
yeah,
we don't feel safe and secure, of how
mm,
it can start spiraling down for us. Now,
yeah,
I know some of the things that we were speaking about recently was what are some of those trauma triggers? What are that what are the things that make you freeze in the moment or give you anxiety or feeling that trauma in the body? So the other aspect can be you can be fine mentally, thinking you're fine mentally, but there's still trauma in the body, and the body's cellular memory is getting triggered. Yeah.
yep, yeah.
And
It,
it's
it it
really
all comes
recognizing
together,
that.
doesn't it? It all comes
Yeah.
together, and depending on the level of triggering that you have, depending on whatever it is, whatever the situation is, depending on how hard it hits you, all of it can happen at once. So your brain just leaps into. I know my brain becomes like a hamster on a wheel. So a really big trauma trigger for me is, like you were saying, financial loss, worrying about the financial future. Because I know as a child with the DV and my mum being married 5 times, I went to 12 different schools before the age of 16 between England and Australia. I can't even count how many houses we lived in, and how many times my mum couldn't afford the bills. So, it was really bad for us because when you lose money, you lose stability, you lose security, no matter what anyone says. When people say you don't need money to be happy, I'm like, You need money to be stable. You need money to pay the bills and keep a roof over your head. So, yeah, when you've got all of those basic needs taken care of,
Yeah.
then you can start looking at other things to be happier.
Yes.
If you're
Yeah.
completely broke ass and you're struggling from one minute to the next, forget about trying to tell people just to be happy and poor. It's a load of shit.
Oh, I totally agree. So if we go back to, recently you had a bit of a spiral, and it wasn't extreme spiral, but you also knew based on your situation that had occurred
Yeah.
that your little monkey brain started to react. Yeah.
It
And so
lasted
did you want
about
to talk
4
a little bit
days.
about that?
Yeah, well, we had a bit of a shock last week, and it was quite a shock that just came out of nowhere for us financially, and not at all what we were expecting. It's completely upset all of our plans, and made us go, "Holy shit!" Like this is really bad. So immediately, even though I knew that we're going to be like mentally, I was like, "Look, you're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. We're both relatively decent sort of workers. We've got decent employment histories, that kind of thing." Um, Even so, it rocked me to my core. It like really undermined me. And I was sitting there going, okay, yep, don't spiral. It's not worth spiraling over. But of course, it was my husband and I. Both of us were going through it together. So we spent the Easter weekend going, holy shit, we're basically in a state of shock,
Yeah.
really. The shock hit us first. Then we sort of spent the weekend. The first night, we just looked at one another and went, wine? Sounds good to me. Like that's the first thing we did, which I know is an unhealthy coping mechanism. But I think I had 2 fat glasses of red and I was just like, I can't be bothered. And then, whereas in the past, I might have gotten absolutely off my chops because
Yeah.
PTSD, mix that with neurodivergence. I'm almost 100% sure that I've got autism. My husband has been diagnosed with autism. And you add all these factors together. And when you look at the research around all that stuff, being autistic or neurodivergent, having trauma, and then being triggered, those are really, really makes you disproportionately at risk of abusing any kind of substance that just helps your
Mm.
brain to just be free in the moment. Absolutely not the coping skill to use though, because you pay for it the next day and it makes things a lot worse. But
Yeah.
just for that day, we were like, oh God, I just can't. And so we had a few drinks. We calmed down a bit. But then that made me get up the next morning feeling sort of quite off. I didn't want to go to the gym. I didn't want to do the things I didn't, I felt like all I wanted to do was curl up in a ball and eat comfort food, which is the next thing that I do, which I haven't been doing because I've been feeling really aligned and going to the gym and doing all the things. So then for pretty much for the next sort of 2 or 3 days, we kind of just hung around the house. I was cooking, doing very little things. We were doom scrolling on our phone, and really, we were just in a state of freeze physically,
Mm.
just curling up in a ball with a blanket, just sort of looking at one another. And I mean, to some extent, that's okay to have a bit of that and like sitting with your feelings. But I could hear in my head the monkey mind was going nuts. Like the trauma
Yeah.
triggers were going, what if this is the end? What if now you've got to sell your property and you've got to, move somewhere that you don't want to live and what blah blah blah. I've seen this happen to other people. It's so terrible. My brain was going, what if, what if, what if, what if? And it was really hard to make that stop.
And it is hard. I mean, that's the thing because it's about still being able to feel safe even when you're being triggered, and
Yeah.
that's a hard thing to do. It's a very hard
Yep.
thing to do when the trigger response has already kicked in,
Yep.
and even though mentally you were going, "I'm fully aware of what's going on here,"
Yeah. I know what's
and
happening.
and I think the beauty of having that trauma awareness
Mm.
kind of helps you to go, "Okay, I'm not gonna spiral down as far as I know that I can.
No,
I'm
no.
going to do everything I can to spiral back up again." And
Mm.
it's also that, as you said, that recognition of going, "I'm giving myself permission to feel this and to
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
through it
Yeah.
because I need to in order to release it out of my system, because if I
Yeah.
hold on to it, all I'm
Don't
going to
invalidate
do
yourself.
is
Yeah.
put that, you know, integrate it into my cells even more." So it's
Yeah.
really
Validating
important
your own
to release it.
feelings is massive, and saying that's my first step whenever I'm triggered and I'm having a massive trauma. And like I'll still get flashbacks because I have PTSD. So
Yeah.
I will still get, and that's how the flashback looks to me. People kind of describe flashbacks as being, you replay this movie in your mind. Maybe that's right for some people. That's not how it works for me. How it works for me is I get locked into that same place and I feel trapped, like I'm powerless. and I can't change my future. And then my thoughts start going around and round and round, doing the circular thinking,
Yeah.
and I can't get out of it.
Yeah.
That's how it works for me.
Yeah.
Mm.
Similar to me, I actually have an emotional response first, and
Yeah.
then that brings back a memory,
Yeah.
whether that memory is actually something that's happened a few months ago or whether it's been from my childhood. 9 times out of 10 it usually comes from childhood. It'll always take me
Yeah.
back to something that's happened as a child.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then that makes the body tighten up even more and get tense, and the
Yes.
stress and the anxiety comes in, and that's when I actually feel like a cat who has put its little paw into an electric socket, and I'm going,
Whoa, whoa,
and I
whoa.
get that real, it's like all of the, like, if you're talking thinking about auras or things like that, it's like that is just totally fragmented. That's how it
Yes,
feels. It's
yes.
just
Knocked out of alignment. You're
totally
knocked
out of alignment.
completely out of alignment. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, totally out of alignment. And
Mm.
trying to get yourself back in, and especially when you're doing the what if game, because the what if game
Wow.
is always about what if this happens, what if that happens, what if this happens, and we're making
Yeah.
up a story
Yeah.
based on looking at our current situation,
Yeah.
thinking that, and we look at the worst case scenario and we make up a story around the worst
Yep.
case scenario and go, that's going to happen, that's going to happen. And that's what you start panicking over
Yep.
when that may never happen,
Yeah,
may never
yeah,
happen
that's
at
right.
all.
Mm.
And it's really about bringing it back to the present and going, well, okay, right now, yes, this situation has happened.
Yep.
However, right now, I am safe. Right
Yes.
now, I am secure. Right now, there is no financial problem. It's
That
like
was a
right now,
conversation you and I had yesterday, wasn't it? That's what you
exactly.
said to me. Like, don't sit there in that space projecting how things are and this feeling right now into the future because things, as we know, things can turn on a dime. So things turned on a dime for us last week
Yeah,
and they could change again tomorrow. You know, you
exactly.
just don't know what's going to happen. So that's despair, is fear and despair kind of getting to you, and that comes from, again, where is that coming from? Well, I've had previous experiences where people have gone, everything's going to be all right, and nothing was all right.
Yeah.
So, and hope is not a strategy, as we always say.
Well, as you said, it's recognizing in this moment, this is how I'm feeling, and I'm feeling a bit unsafe. So then what are the
Yeah,
things that you can do to make yourself feel safe again? And part of that is to quieten that monkey mind down, because
yeah,
that is a past response. And I know for me, sometimes when that comes up, I will look at it. And especially if something, as you said, when that vision takes you back to a childhood
mm,
state, or
yeah,
even, 5 years ago or 10 years ago, I'm no longer that person. That's an experience I've had, but
yeah.
I'm no
That's
longer
right.
that person. I've actually grown a lot as an individual. I've overcome a lot. I've unmasked that onion, and I keep peeling back that onion and keep peeling it back. And then I think this just goes to show that no matter how much work you do, when that trauma is showing up in your cells and it's coming from that nervous system
Yeah,
deregulation, and and it's really coming from that cellular memory, it doesn't matter how much work you've done. What it actually comes back to is your awareness around it and the
yeah,
tools that you use to pull yourself out of it, so you
yeah.
don't spiral down for weeks on end, and the spiral only happens for a day or two, which is
That's right.
basically for you in the recent thing. That's what it was. It was a day or two you're out of sync, and then you got
About
yourself
three,
back
about
into
three,
sync
four
pretty
days.
quickly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And now I'm back on track. I bounced out of bed this morning and I made an announcement to the family yesterday. I said, I can feel that I'm back in alignment, guys. I know that I've been offline for a few days, but I'm back. So I'm
Yeah.
okay. And then this morning I went to the gym. I took my daughter to school. I went to the gym. I got up. I did all the chores, got everything sorted. I'm just like, you know what? We're just going to put one foot in front of each other. And that's all I've got right now. Some of the things I like to tell myself that help me switch my dysregulated nervous system back into the safe zone. Some of the things I like to think of are, yes, I've had a lot of challenges in my life, which is where this fear comes from. But in 100% of cases, I have met and overcome those challenges. So my track
Mm.
record is pretty good. It's pretty
Yeah.
good.
Very
And
good.
then internalizing that locus of control. So that's a big one that I find really, really difficult when I sit and go, oh, this person has done and this stuff that's happened with us has been other people doing it, as it always is. But the locus of control is, oh well, Yep, I can't control what they've done, but I'm gonna control how I move forward in this. And
Mm,
that's really, really hard to come back to that when you're in that scared headspace and like you're saying, your aura's shattered, you're totally out of alignment. But the key to coming back, I think, is a bit of compassion along with a bit of common sense and logical thinking, which is what you gave me when we had our chat yesterday. And that was you exactly saying to me, you are safe in this moment. You've got a lot of skills. You're going to be okay. You can move forward. So having a little bit of faith and knowing that faith in yourself,
mm,
essentially, that the bird isn't safe because she's sitting on a tree. She's safe because she's got wings,
yeah,
you know.
and a beak to find her food. She can still eat.
Exactly, and sometimes life can be shaken up and look really different. I know that when I divorced my ex-husband, I did that with the full knowledge that I would lose my business that I'd spent 15 years building and that I would lose a lot of wealth that I had built up for myself. And that was a
Mm,
horrible experience. It was so hard. And I went through it knowing that that would happen. But there were times when I felt that I would come out of that completely penniless. I didn't. And then I guess my husband and I, we've rebuilt a lot of stuff together, which has been lovely because you start to get to that stage where you've rebuilt again. And then you look at it and think, oh shit, is all this in jeopardy again? No, it's not. No, it's
no,
not. We're going to be
no.
okay, you know. But believing
There's
that
always choices. There's
there is
always
always
choice.
choices, and
Yeah.
believing that in the moment is the hard part. But it does, it absolutely, it knocks you for a sixer.
It does. And I think part of the reason with the fact that you're only in that space for 2 to 3 days, even though it's a horrible space to be and you don't want to be in it full
Yeah,
stop, compared to say in the past where you may have been in it for weeks, if not months,
yeah,
that
yeah,
you've now got more of an understanding around your trauma
yeah,
response and
yeah,
you've
yeah,
got
yeah.
that awareness around it that you kind of go, okay, I know what's going on here and you're aware as well from that point of view when you go, well, I know what's going on here. I'm just going to let this play out a little bit so it gets
Yes,
released.
yes,
But I'm not going to stay here, and I'm going to pull myself out of it very quickly because I know the danger of allowing this to spiral down. And it's when you allow that to spiral down into I literally can't get out of bed and I'm feeling
I can't
seriously
function.
depressed and all those types of
Yeah,
things. That's when your situation will actually get worse.
yeah, exactly, exactly. But it's sitting in that space of it's a tricky balance, right? Because you've got to be really compassionate to yourself
Mm.
and validate the feelings. And a lot of it is what you said to me yesterday. It's so powerful. It's actually a normal response. It is a normal response for people to feel really, holy shit, I can't believe that happened and be upset for a few days. That is actually normal. We
It
as
is.
humans are not designed to just cruise along with no emotional aspects to us at all, no emotional effect. We are supposed to get upset when things are upsetting. It's just the amount of how long you sit in that place and the process. So shit things are always going to happen. Okay,
Yeah.
it's not avoiding them happening. It's how you respond to that happening. And if you can transmute the fear, this is the big thing, right? Mental alchemy, transmuting the fear and the trauma into something that propels you forward instead of holds you in that frozen space. That's the big challenge for me. So I said today, right, I'm going to ring up and I'm going to speak to my uni about finishing a qualification that I've had sitting on the back burner for a bit. I'm going to do that
Yeah.
because that adds another string to my bow, gives me another level of security, or at least it feels
Yeah.
like it does. And the other thing I do is say, uh, there is no real, like the whole idea of stability and security really is an illusion, isn't it? Because anything can happen to any of us at any time. I mean, you could have 5 houses that are all completely paid off and loads of money coming in, and you could be living in Iran and suddenly there's a bomb dropped on it all and you're fucked.
Yeah.
So you just don't know. And so it's not about relying on jobs or incomes or materialistic things or whatever, even though they are great and they're important to have. It's about relying on you as the person that you've got that relationship with yourself so that you know that when terrible things happen, you can rebuild because you've got faith in yourself and you've done the inner work.
Exactly, and I believe that's where, it really comes back to is that relationship you have with your authentic self, and
Yeah.
I also believe that the reason why you were able to move past and become very aware of
Yes.
what was going on and what was playing out and pull yourself out of it is because you've done the work to build that relationship with
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, previously I'd done various trauma counseling and all kinds of psych counseling and all the rest of it. And all of that helped to some degree, but nothing rebuilt that kind of, like, when you do that self work, it's like you said to me, there's some kind of confidence that you have. You know yourself so well that even in those moments, you can move on from it and go, yeah, you know what? This isn't me. This isn't my destiny.
Yeah. And that's the powerful thing. It's to recognize that what that monkey mind is telling you about the worst case scenario
Yeah.
and realizing that that's not you. That worst case scenario isn't you because you're bigger than that. You're more
Yeah.
than that. And that
Yeah.
you had the smarts. You had
Yeah.
the ability to be able to move through this and create whatever outcome you actually want,
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Exactly. And
regardless
it's
of what
funny.
the external factors are telling you. You know, it's
Yeah, exactly. And it's really very, very funny looking at my reaction to what's happened and my husband's reaction to what's happened
oh,
because he is not traumatized. And I think the reason that he's never been traumatized in his life, weirdly, is, and don't come for me for this, this is an opinion that I've observed. Um, his autism, to a great degree, has protected him from that
mm,
because he gets alexithymia, right? So he's got emotional processing issues. He feels empathy and kindness and he feels emotions, but he doesn't feel it as quickly or as keenly as I do. And I think another reason why I suspect I'm probably ADHD, but I'm very high empathy and I feel things really, really quickly. So empath and ADHD is a bit of a hard combination. But because of his autism, he's quite protected. So he doesn't internalize. He says, this thing happened and that's okay because I'm still the same person who's still got all of those skills and I can move on and just go and do something else because shit happens. He's able to do that a lot better than me because he's never had the trauma. So
yeah,
that's the other side. The more traumatized you are, the more you go, oh God, this happened. And then you look all back through yourself. What did I do to cause this? And, you really can sit in that place of self condemnation and judgment rather
yeah,
than validation and compassion. And that is the complete difference, is that you can do that. Or, just go, okay, well, that was bad. We'll keep moving forward.
yeah. And so, and there, that's another, I think, positive response is to go, well, that was bad. Let's move forward. And
Yep.
that's for you and I. That's the place we would love to get to,
Yeah.
but because of our upbringings and things like that, we're probably always going to have in us. I do believe one day it may totally go, but at the moment, there's still a lot of work happening in that space.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to work on it on a more deeper cellular level rather than, just on the belief system, just on the thinking, just on the emotional
Yeah.
side. It's like
Yeah.
let's get right down into the body cellular memory and just release this stuff and get it out of us.
Mm,
Because
mm,
that's where disease can start coming in, is
yeah.
when we allow our trauma response and our cellular memory of that to start
Mm,
being the dictator of our life
yeah.
and
Yeah.
ruling how we respond to things and spiraling all the time, things like that. That's where you become really unhealthy. And I'm not just talking about mental health, I'm talking about physical. You can
Oh,
start bringing
yeah.
on a whole heap of different disease.
Knocks your immune
Stress is
system. Yeah.
yeah, stress causes so much disease in the body, And
Yeah.
what do they say about the
Inflammation.
word disease? It's a body, at unease. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep. And it's funny because that is exactly the other approach that I use. So I use a lot of cognitive techniques I've learned over the years. I use the journaling that and the leaning into the journaling and the speaking my emotions and getting it out and speaking my stuff to myself, sitting there going, okay, this happened and rationalizing it through and giving energy to my words, saying we are going to move forward from this and listening to that. And I feel like when I do that, my own subconscious is listening to me. It's almost like you're programming your self-conscious. You're speaking what you want into reality.
yeah,
And then the other thing I do is I forced myself to go to the gym, and I did like 2 lots of exercise and I was like, this is hell. I've got to go. And realized that what I actually needed was fresh air and sunshine. And I needed to go out and I needed to touch the beach and I needed to hear the waves, smell the ocean, play with my dogs and be out in the sunlight and go, oh, there are still good things. That completely shifts your whole frozen, curl up in a ball,
yes,
freeze kind of response, your trauma response. And when you're really triggered, It's the last thing that you want to do. I find when I've got a PTSD trigger hitting me and I'm super into the trauma and I've really gone there, the last thing I want to do is go out and move. I become very cold. My hands and feet, my extremities become very cold. My stomach becomes very upset. My skin becomes very kind of sensitive. I become very sensitive to noise and smells, and I'm very
Mm,
tight in the jaw and my neck hurts. These are all the physical responses that I have when I'm really triggered, and I know
yep.
that I have them. So going out and getting out into a calm place that is in nature for a walk where the trees are still growing, the ocean is still lapping the shore, the beach that's been there for a millennia. Human beings need to be in contact with nature. It's almost like it makes me go, everything's going to be all right. It sort of sends a calm message to your body, makes
So it
such a
grounds
difference.
you. It grounds you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. And it's great that you're talking about that, because one of the things that I do when I'm finding I'm in that early stage where you do just want to curl up in
Yeah.
a ball or stay in bed all day or just sit on the couch all day and watch
Yeah.
TV and just kind of, ignore the world,
Yeah.
is, and I know, because one of the other things that I've got, this is my, I'm a very driven person. Okay, I
Yeah.
get driven to do things, and I
Mm.
get hyper focused on those things, and I just want to achieve it. So when I am sitting around and not doing much, then that other little voice comes in and says, "You should be doing this." So the guilt starts to come in. So you've got one side of you that's going, the trauma
Yep.
response, going, "Oh, I don't want to do anything," and then the other side's going, "Yes, look, you're being stupid. Get out of here. Bloody hell, you've
Yeah.
got stuff to do." The little guilty
Yeah.
mindset,
Thanks,
and
parents, for your
then
shit voice I internalized as a child. Why can't you do something with yourself? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much. It's like, thanks you too. So, the two little devils going off at each other. And what I find is when I'm in that state is to kind of go, well, what will make me feel good in this point, like right now. So it could
Yeah.
be, I know that exercise makes me feel good. It helps with my mental health, and it
Yeah.
helps with that, the body releasing stuff. And even if I go, but I don't want to do it, I don't feel like it, I'm not up to it. Oh, that little voice. I then
Yeah.
go, but how will you
Really do know
feel?
that little voice.
How will you feel afterwards, after you've
Yeah.
done it?
Yeah.
You'll actually
Yeah.
have stopped both of those little voices in your head,
Yeah.
and I would much prefer to get rid of those little voices and have a positive voice than to have these two little negative voices going off at each other. So I
Yes.
go, "Okay, I want that outcome." So
Yeah.
sometimes I don't do the exercise because I'm going, "I wanna do it to keep fit and healthy." I do it because I'm trying to shut up
Yeah.
those two little voices in my brain.
Yeah. I'm trying
And
to
and
reduce
then
my cortisol.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And so
Mm.
you've got that. So I've always got that thing where I go, "Okay, how, if I was to go and do that, how will that
Mm.
make me feel afterwards?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
if I go, I'll feel better afterwards, I go, "Well, go and do it then. Force
Yeah.
yourself." This is where you bully yourself, to force yourself to get off the couch or get out of bed or get
Just
out of the
go and do
mindset.
it.
Just go and
Yes.
do it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It sounds, and you know what? I've had moments where I've sat there and I'm so trauma triggered, and I'm so up in my own central nervous system. It's so completely spiraling out of control that I've had an argument with myself quietly, no one knows, inside my own head, with my monkey mind versus my logical mind going, "Ah, you need to get up off the couch. You need to go and do this. And I've just sat there going, like, and I've done that for hours because that's what trauma will do to you. It will
Yep.
knock you into that space. And so, interestingly, the minute that I've gone, right, I've just got to go and go for a walk, and I've gone outside and I've done that and I've moved my body, it's sort of, it literally, it's all, I mean, there must be some science to it. It must send a message through your body. We're
Mm.
safe, you're okay, you're just walking. And walking is so essential. It's just so important for humans, and sunlight and fresh
Yep.
air. These sound so trite, these things. They sound trite, they sound boring, and it sounds like where's the magic bullet? There isn't one,
Well, that
and
is the
it's all
magic bullet. That's the magic
it's
bullet.
all yeah, exactly. It's all about, and it is all about good nutrition at this point too. Like, I know, one of the things that Joe and I both absolutely adore is cheap dopamine. We love it, and we find it in the source of Pepsi Max, which is it's the drink of the devil, really. But, we will we'll smash a bit of Pepsi Max, which is absolutely terrible for you, by the way. Really
Yep.
bad for your kidneys, terrible for everything. God, I'd probably get sued by Pepsi Max now. But anyway, so, but we love it. It tastes amazing, and it gives us such a dopamine rush. Both of us go, "Oh God, Pepsi Max." And it's a cheap dopamine rush because it makes you feel like shit. And then the caffeine hangs around and then you don't sleep well. I found that if I have more than 2 coffees, even in the morning, at nighttime, and then even if I have a Pepsi Max in the afternoon, at nighttime, I don't sleep well at
Yeah.
all. And the older I get, the more sensitive I become to this stuff. So I recently, like I cut it out. I basically only allow myself to have it sort of once a week as a bit of a treat, usually. But yeah, over the last couple of days, we were smashing the Pepsi Max, and
Mm.
it made us even more anxious, or made me
Mm.
even more anxious and more stressed. Initially, I was like, "Oh yes, great, I love the bubbles," and then I was like, "Oh, I'm all jittery again." And I was craving. The other thing that's really, really something I read about cortisol. When your cortisol is high and when your adrenaline is high, you crave salty, fatty foods
Mm.
because you need that salt. Your body needs that salt to produce those adrenaline and cortisol for you. Um, and so I was craving all that food too. And you know what? This is a really good trick, right? I went, and then and then I crave red meat as well. And Joe was craving red meat. So hamburger and fries, perfect when you're in
Perfect.
trigger. Great. Salt, fat, love it. You know, you crave red meat as well because the things that you really want and chocolate, they're full of B vitamins and magnesium. Isn't that interesting? B vitamin. So I have some great methylated sublingual B vitamins, and I had 2 of those, and within 24 hours, my mood just shifted.
Totally shifted. Yeah. Yeah.
Incredible,
So
isn't it? Like,
it's fascinating how, as you said, the when your body starts craving certain things
yeah,
and what it does. Because I know through doing the personal work and building that relationship with yourself, then you do start to let go of some of those emotional
yeah,
food things or emotional drink habits or
yep,
the self-medication of things, going to alcohol or going to food for
yeah,
self-medication as well. As you start to like who you are and really start to build that relationship with yourself, that's those things start to actually get to a point where naturally you don't want them
and I was
because
there. I was there
yeah,
before this event,
that's right.
but
And
in
then when you
yeah,
have a trauma, as you said, a trigger, you
yeah,
automatically go, "Gee, I need this stuff."
yeah,
And similar to you, I can't do caffeine
yeah,
because
no, you can't,
caffeine,
no,
even when I'm feeling good, caffeine just hypes me up, and then I
knocks you.
crash. And when I
Mm,
crash, it actually makes me depressed. So
yes,
so I've always stayed away from caffeine. And then through working night shift for an IT company at one point, I
oh,
started drinking tea as a
yeah,
mechanism to keep me awake at night. And I never
yeah,
touched it. And I would have been in my early 30s. So I had not actually drank tea or coffee at all.
yeah,
And then I started drinking tea, and that was my introduction to tea. And I also find with tea that if I have more than 3 or 4 cups of tea a day, it does exactly the same thing to me as what
yeah,
coffee does. So I've now cut out tea and coffee out
yeah,
totally. I don't
yeah,
have them at all because of how my body responds to that. And
mm,
I suppose part of the reason why I respond to it so badly is because of my body is already hyper vigilant. It's already up there. It doesn't
yes,
need that stimulant. What it actually
no.
needs is calming. And so for me, ginseng, I use ginseng
Oh, that's
as the thing to actually calm my nerves,
yeah,
but then give me the energy that I
that's an
need. And it
adaptogen. Yeah,
yeah, and it works
mm,
beautifully for me. So and I find that when I come off the ginseng, I'll be fine for a few weeks, and then I can feel my nervous system getting a bit
mm,
again, so I go back onto the ginseng. But that's what works beautifully for me. So it's good, for me, B vitamins, they work to a point, but obviously, I don't know, my nervous system needs a little bit more, so I actually go for the ginseng. So yeah,
mine need to be they need to be sublingual, so they need to be
yeah,
partially along the steps in your liver kind of thing before you have them.
yeah,
I seem to have methylation issues, and another thing that I think, well, doctors don't agree with all of this stuff, but I saw a functional doctor and he was saying, yeah, you've got methylation issues, try and take some sublingual Bs. And my anxiety just really dissipated after that. Now, the other thing you mentioned about once I'd done the workbook, I've lost 10 kilos. And yeah, I have been exactly like that. It was effortless. I don't want to eat the shit food anymore. I don't feel like doing the crappy stuff. And I hadn't been until recently, this issue. Straight away, though, what I've noticed is because I ate the crappy food and I had a couple of glasses of wine, I felt like absolute shit. And I
mm,
haven't felt that bad in ages. I felt so good in ages, And then today, straight back on deck. I've put the healthy food on the table for breakfast this morning, drinking my water. I've been to the gym, and I feel like I'm coming back to baseline again. And I can't overstate eating the proper food, eating the protein, because my gut is healed. I'm feeling so much better in
Yeah.
myself. I used to be that person that was always struggling with reflux and always felt really unwell all the time because I hardly ate any protein. And so now I've started eating lean protein and listening to the advice and yeah, doing the right thing. So look, there's always room for improvement, but just these things, if you are a person who has been through trauma, genuinely nurturing yourself with whole healthy foods, avoiding the nasty stimulants, and having a good look at your own, I suppose, your profile to see if vitamins and things do help. That makes such a difference with exercise. It's huge.
Yeah, it does. I
Mm,
think anything that is actually going to give you that edge, that extra edge to move
yeah.
past these things, to support the body whilst you're doing that, doing the personal growth work to repair that relationship with self and to let go of the past programming, the past belief
Yes.
systems that no longer support you, that have
Yes.
been
Yeah.
dictating your life. So I've always been big on, eating as well as I believe in the 80-20 rule, which is 80% of the time eat really, really well and 20%,
Yep.
enjoy life because life is here to be enjoyed. So have the sweet thing every now and again or have
Yeah.
the old glass of wine at a dinner or things like that. It's when we go the extreme with it that
Mm,
that's where you start feeling the issues and listen
yes.
to the body. So if the body's saying, if you have something and then your body reacts adversely to it. That's your body trying to
Mm,
tell you something. It's like, don't take that. So I know a lot of people who they have coffee and they get heart palpitations, but they keep drinking the coffee. And you're going, wow, if I was you, I'd stop that.
yeah, I'd stop
so
that.
it's, so listen to the body. The body's trying to tell you something when you have
Yeah.
something that it's not good for it. And
Yep.
then go see a nutritionalist, go see a naturopath, go see
Yeah.
a
Yep.
dietitian, whoever, to
Mm,
help you understand what foods and what nutritional supplements do you need to support your body at the moment.
yeah.
Even go get a blood test to see where you are deficient.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can do those types of things and support everything about you in order to bring you through to a stage because sometimes you can work on the personal growth as in that relationship with yourself but
Mm,
you're not working on your body and you, as I
yeah.
said, your body's still wearing that cellular memory and the nervous system is still feeling very dysregulated because
Yeah.
of that cellular memory that's there, that trauma memories that's there. So it's
Mm,
important to support the body as well as the mind when you're
yep.
actually going through
Yep.
this. And I look at the tools that are really important for you. So for me, meditation was extremely important. So all the
Mm,
things that I do as part of my daily routine, I look after the whole picture of me,
yeah.
not just one component.
And none of these things are expensive or out of reach for anyone. You know, you can learn whatever meditation technique suits you. There's loads of resources that are completely free all over the internet for that. All you need is a quiet space or to sit and journal on a piece of paper with a crappy old pen, whatever you need. It doesn't have to be an expensive journal or anything like that. You've just got to do what works for you. And going for a walk is free. You've got to eat anyway. So if you can possibly afford to, try to stick with, you don't have to go with organic. Just get
No,
your
just stick
fiber,
with
get your
healthy whole foods.
protein.
Yeah,
Just eat
yeah,
food that's real. Don't eat
yeah,
food that's been mucked with, like messed around with, that
exactly.
doesn't resemble food.
Yeah,
So, and I
foods
mean,
over
it's
packaged
funny
stuff.
because on the other side of my crash out and my massive trauma response that I had, on the other side of it now, I'm starting to go, my brain's automatically going, oh, sometimes things happen for a reason. Why did this happen for me? We always say that, right? And you can't do it when you're in it. But on the other
No,
side of it, you go, actually, this issue was causing my husband a lot of stress on a daily basis. Now it's gone. So we don't have to worry about that. Some other things have come out of that are looking really good. There's new opportunities on the horizon. And maybe sometimes things fall apart because they're supposed to, and you're meant for
mm,
better stuff. You're meant for things that are better. And you would never, ever look to try different things unless what you were relying on for your security and stability were there to keep you in your comfort zone. So
yeah.
who knows what
Sometimes
lies
something
ahead?
has to be. You've said this before. Something has to go in order to make room for the new. And
Yeah.
if you're so caught up in this thing over here, you're not looking for the new.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
still looking over here. So sometimes these things have to happen so you
Mm.
can see what's actually in front of you and what's available to you.
Yeah, and I mean, we've been talking about making some big changes for a long time. Probably now our changes are just gonna they're just gonna speed up the timeline. And we
Yep.
were at different ends on the timeline. You know, Joe wanted to wait longer and I wanted to go quicker. So this is maybe that's just how things go. I don't believe in coincidences anymore. And I think something that I find really reassuring when I'm feeling triggered and traumatized, my trauma's coming back up to choke me. I look at it and I think, God, you know, I actually, and when there's people around me that are struggling and going through things, I've already been through that. And so I can sit with them and go, you know what? It's okay. This is
Yeah.
normal, like you did with me. This is the darkness, the long night of the soul. This too shall pass. And I can give you some tips and pointers and stay with you while you go through it. So it actually makes you like the queen of reassurance.
Yeah, it does. There's something that I like to say, and I actually got this from Firefly, and it probably actually comes from other yeah, it's probably from another quote or whatever, but I remember it on Firefly, and, one of the characters turns around and says to this lady who was giving birth, "This is only a moment in time, and it too shall pass."
Yeah.
And I thought, "Oh, I love that quote." It's a
Yep.
beautiful quote, and I'll always say that to myself as something pops up that I don't like. I'm like, "This is only a moment in time, and it'll
Yep.
pass, and something new will pop in." And
Yep.
it's just keeping yourself in the moment today. Today you're safe. Today everything is fine. Today there are
Yep.
no problems. And then building your intention for the day as well, going, well, how do I want today to be? So
Yeah. Yep.
let's have an intentional day of being happy, of ticking things off my list that I have to do. Or,
Yeah.
if I said I'm going to do the exercise, go and do the exercise.
Yeah.
But being intentional on how you want your day to be. And no,
Yeah.
as you said earlier on, you cannot um, basically control other people's behaviors and how they carry on, but you can control your own
Yeah.
and you can control how you react to things. And so that's
Yep.
another thing that I used to always say to myself as well was I can't control them, but I can control how I respond to them. And I
Yes.
also can control how I choose to carry that as well. Do I want to take that on board or do I
Mm.
want to just recognize it for what it is and let
Yeah.
it go like water off a duck's back? And that
Yeah.
is
That's
my
their issue.
preference.
Mm,
Yeah, is
mm.
to let it go and realize that's their stuff, and it
Mm.
doesn't mean it's truth. It's truth
That's
for
right,
them,
and
but it
that's
doesn't
the
mean
other
it's my
thing.
truth.
That is something that's really important to remember as a trauma survivor. What your experience is and how you perceive things might be completely different to your abuser or the person that put you in the shit or whatever it was, whoever it was. They have got a narrative, and whatever narrative that you've got that you know in your heart is real, believe that one. Don't let
Yeah,
anyone shove you from one way or the other. Just if you need to, and if you need help with that, get some coaching or talk to people that you know that will help you, because believe your own narrative. Remember what you're feeling and don't allow people to gaslight you out of what you know has traumatized you.
totally.
Now, I'm not saying hold on to that forever, but I'm saying you're allowed to sit in that space and go, this is my experience.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah. And
mm,
because in order to be able to move past it, you've got to recognize it for what it actually is. It's
really.
because I know if I look at my brother, my sibling, for instance, um, we were both raised in exactly the same environment.
Yeah.
His experience and his outlook of that
Yeah.
is very different to mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
He also has this idea in his head that I was too young to remember.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
now I'm gonna let you know something. I was 19 when my father died. I
Yeah.
wasn't 5 or 4, I was 19.
You're an adult.
So, I was
Mm,
definitely not too young to remember, but in his head, I think he's just still got this image that I was a little kid, and so I didn't experience as much. When my experience was he and my other sibling left home, and I was the one that was left there by myself, and that happened throughout my teenage years, and you just go, I probably had it like, I'm
a
not
lot
gonna say I
rougher.
had it worse than
Yeah.
he did. I had a very different experience because
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
have my other siblings around me to support me
Correct.
through that. I was on my
Yes.
own.
Yeah. You're on your own. And when
So
you're on your own, you cop at the worst. So I've been in a similar
you do.
situation. I'm the youngest as well. And yeah, absolutely. Once the bigger kids are gone, look out because
Yeah.
you're the new scapegoat. So yeah, it is all about unpacking it slowly as we go. And one other thing I want to say is I think one of the problems we have with social media is a great tool, but I think one of the things it does is it spreads a lot of misinformation,
Mm.
particularly around expectations. So
Oh,
I think
yeah.
there is a lot of expectation we create about perfect lives and not having any trauma and everything being okay, or if we're traumatized, that everything is going to mold itself around us or accommodate us, because
Yeah.
that doesn't happen. That's
No.
not true. It doesn't happen.
It's wearing it
So
like as a
expecting that.
label.
Sorry.
I said wearing it as a label, like, "Look at me, I'm
Yes. Yes.
traumatized, I'm
Yeah.
traumatized." Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay to raise it if you're asking for reasonable adjustments for things in workplaces or whatever, and that's fine. But it's one of those things that I don't live in the space going, I've got PTSD. I don't
Yeah.
live in that space. I talk about, yep, I acknowledge that sometimes I'm traumatized and that's hard, and I know that I've got to work through it. But my skill set for working through that is improving all the time. Like you said, the downtime that you go through reduces all the time. I don't expect perfection, and I don't expect to go through this life never being triggered ever again. What I do know is that as I go, I'm wiser, I'm smarter, I'm more aligned. I know how to deal with things. My skill set, my toolbox is expanding all the time. And I
Mhm.
think that's all you can expect.
I think you also get more compassion as well.
Yep.
And the compassion isn't just towards you, but it's also towards others because you get a better understanding of what
Yeah.
people are going through.
Yeah.
And regardless of whether it's trauma or they're just having a bad day, you get it because you've
We're
lived
all
it, you've
operating
experienced it,
imperfect
it's
systems, aren't
yeah,
we? We're all under pressure.
yeah,
We've all got expectations on us. We're all doing stuff. Some people are doing stuff to save their own necks.
yeah,
Yeah. Mm,
exactly.
yeah. Mm,
So there is always stuff out there that can assist you when you're going through a response, and it's really I think it's really about figuring out what are the things that work for you, finding out
mm,
what tools you can actually use to help you through going through a response. If you're actually struggling seriously with trauma and that
yeah.
cellular memory, go get professional help, seek it out.
Yep.
Don't do it on your own.
Absolutely.
And if you feel that you can't afford that, then trust me, there are books out there, there's online information out there that's going to
Mm,
assist you that you can get some insights, get some tools to help you move through it. And
mm,
meditation, which is totally free, you don't have to pay for
yeah.
meditation, is to, start on that if you can. And if you find meditation doesn't work, go for a walk because that
And
is,
yes,
walking
absolutely.
meditation is just as important as closing your eye
Mm.
meditation. So passive
And
versus active.
I think it's important to mention too, because if you're dealing with trauma, people that are really traumatized and triggered can often can really escalate and feel like it's becoming out of control. And if that's the case and you're living in Australia, you can call Lifeline. You
Yeah.
absolutely can call any of the numbers. There's like Lifeline, Beyond Blue. There's loads of different places that you can speak to. A kids helpline for people under 18. There's so many, and always ask for help, or you can go to your emergency department of your local hospital if you're really losing it and it's just beyond what you can cope with and you're afraid for your safety. Please always do that, because some people don't have the support networks, and you might be at that stage of your journey where you really still need to do that. Mm.
And as you said to me the other day, I was white knuckling it, trying to white knuckle my way through. You don't need to do that. You do not need to white knuckle your way through. There are
No.
so many options available to you and
Yeah.
support out there that can assist you. Take
Yeah.
advantage of it. Absolutely take advantage
Absolutely.
of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, on that note, let us know what you got out of today's session. And if there was something that really stood out for you, or if you had an aha moment, we would love to hear from you. And
Yeah.
to our audience that has been following us and listening to us and cheering us on, thank you very much. We absolutely love hearing your feedback. We love hearing the aha moments that you've had, and we
Yep.
really, really appreciate your support. Thank you. And remember to think beautifully and live brilliantly. And any links that you want around coaching or our workbook are actually in the description or in our bio.
Mm.
So until next time, take care.
Bye. Mm.
We'd like to say a huge thank you to our incredible audience for your continued support. Our mission is to ignite your spark, empowering you to be a beacon of light for others. We'd love to hear from you. So if you've got any questions that you would like answered in future episodes or just want to share some insights, connect with us on our Facebook community page. If you're looking for additional resources, go to our website. You'll find the link below. And remember, the absolute best way to help us grow is to share this episode with your friends and family and to subscribe to the Art of Beautiful Thinking podcast. So until next time, think beautifully and live brilliantly.